Man, I screwed up that speech so bad, Austin. Do you think I'll recover from it?
I mean, you could, but what separates most people from having a bad outing and a bad occurrence is the fact that there's always going to be the people who want to quit after they have that, and there's going to be the people that want to continue and keep trying. And that says a lot about a person. Mm-hmm. Going out and getting up at bat and striking out 1, 2, 3, quick, just like that. And a lot of people, whenever they have that embarrassing experience, especially in front of a multitude of people, they're like, man, yeah, not doing that ever again. That was too traumatic of an experience. But of course, and we've talked about this before, they would be shortchanging themselves if they didn't give themselves another opportunity. And I kind of like experiences like that because now you get to see who a person really is. When it's clutch time and you need a bucket and you see LeBron take a shot, he misses. But there's still 20 seconds left. Does he sit there, cry, sulk, bitch, complain? No. Gets back on defense. They get the ball back. Pass it to him again. Takes another shot like the other shot didn't happen. What does he do? Make it. He showed you who he really is. And most people would like to think that they can do that. They think that they're just the best person ever at whatever they're doing. They think that they can't be touched. They can't be fucked with, right? But then when them lights come on and shit gets rough, shit gets hard, shit gets tough, who are you? Who are you really? And you could say all the things that you want to say, but when it's that time, it's going to show who you really are, whether you want to or not. And that, my friend, is what I want to talk about today. Who are you when things get tough? Are you a person who complains, a person who cries, a person who asks for help? Oh, come help me. I can't do this by myself. Or are you a person that goes in there, no matter what the outcome may be, goes in there, says, all right, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to do better than my best. Here's what we got. So, Jose.
Yes, sir.
So, not only do I want to talk about this, but I feel like a good prelude to the conversation is, are you prepared? Because when things get rough, when things get hard, when things get tough, are you prepared really to deal with that? A lot of people think they can just go into a room and, just speak in front of 10,000 people and it'd be okay. But as soon as you step foot on that stage, deer in headlights. So are you prepared for these tough times? I would like you to speak a little bit on that, man.
Thank you for the introduction.
Of course.
'Twas wonderful as always.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Every day, all day, every second, every minute.
Yes, sir.
Who are you when things get tough? Are you prepared is the question that I've been posed with. Now, many people would like to think, and I would say to a degree rightfully so, that a challenge begins at the moment that the challenge is present. It begins and ends from when it starts to when it finishes. But the reality is, the clock starts before you're even on the court. We'll harken back to your reference for LeBron.
Yes, sir.
LeBron's game doesn't start when the clock starts, and
Right.
it doesn't end when the game ends. It starts from the second he picked up a basketball
Ooh,
to the second that he puts it down.
talk to him.
And the reason this is, everything plays into that one scenario. For his example, his diet, his exercise, his rest, his routine, who he surrounds himself with, what he puts into his body, whether that is mentally, spiritually, or literally, and all things few far in between. And so, are you prepared for what is coming, the tough times? Have you taken steps to mitigate negative consequences or to increase the statistical chances that you can succeed under high levels of duress? Do you have a network of individuals who are well off or well connected or just overall sharp and reliable, so that if something happens to you or your family, God forbid, you have people who you can rely on and who you can trust in your steed or to help you directly or indirectly? Have you educated yourself enough to the point where, hey, the tough time could be a layoff or a recession? Did you save money, or were you financially literate, responsible? And again, did you educate yourself enough sufficiently to the point where you have a fallback? You have the ability to quickly cover your bases and take care of the people around you. And as Austin likes to say, be the rock, be the foundation, be the pillar, be the shoulder to cry on at any point in time. That starts with you every single day. What does your morning look like? What do you write in your journal? What's your internal dialogue like? What are all the minor factors? For us, are you good with God? Because not only do you have to be who you say you are to yourself, but most importantly, you have to be who God created you to be. You cannot deny it, because if you are deceiving yourself and you can't even be who you're supposed to be when tough times and rough times are not present, what happens when they come?
Exactly. And I'm not going to go too into detail about this because we already talked about this, but we know a person very loosely. We know a person, yeah. We know a person who was a good, I don't even say a good talker, but a good bullshitter, kind of, you know?
Very.
Very good bullshitter. And the way he would say things, you would think that he was prepared for the tough times. You think that he's been through the ringer and he's experienced all these tough times to the point to where they don't even faze him anymore. And when the lights come on, he's not going to have a problem. But we got a pretty interesting opportunity to see an instance where the talk had to become the walk. You could no longer talk the talk, you had to walk the walk. And he was doing a whole lot of talking up until that point, right? So, and we didn't even know that he was going to do this, but we were standing there in a crowd of people, brought us to an event or told us to come to an event. And they all gathered around him, and it was his time to say this great motivational speech that his boss, who we have in a group chat, by the way, shout out, you know who we are, shout out him.
Shout out MM1.
Yeah. But his boss was so good at having and speaking on. His boss was a great motivational speaker. And it was his turn to get up and speak. And he got up. He started off a little shaky in the voice. Then he started tripping over his words. Then he started to stop completely and had to think about what he was going to say next. The crowd was all there just sitting there looking at him. And then you'd have some people that he knew that would be like, hey, it's okay, you got it. Keep going, you got it. And he was still sitting there kind of frozen in fear, in anxiety. He was sweating a little bit, you know, shaking a little bit. And I don't want to say that I took enjoyment seeing this, because no, I didn't. But it was just crazy to see this experience and see how that because somebody didn't prepare, they weren't ready for those tough times. And there is this quote that I forget where it came from, but it's something that, you know, coaches say in Little League and, you know, AAU shit. Preparation prevents poor performance. 4 P's. Preparation prevents poor performance. So when it comes to getting up and having a speech or getting up and talking in front of your stakeholders, or having a sales pitch, doing something tough, doing something difficult, going to the bench and trying to do your max. Did you do everything that you could do to prepare for those tough times? Because a lot of us like to delude ourselves and say, hey, look, when the tough times get here, I'll be ready for them. When it happens, it'll happen, and I'll be ready for them. And to a certain extent, we say that. But you know why we say that? Because we've prepared ourselves by putting ourselves through a ton of tumultuous times to the point to where if some shit comes up, it's just another day. Same shit, different toilet. So having that preparation for us, putting yourself through those tough times, putting yourself through those tough things that make you challenge yourself, helps you deal with these tough times. And when we get to the tough time, we're the same person that we thought we were beforehand. That person that was giving that speech, he thought he was one way before that tough time came, but he didn't prepare. He didn't prepare at all. So when it was time for that tough time, when the rubber had to meet the road, he froze, sitting there shaking, sweating. So are you prepared for the tough times? Have you done everything to prepare for them? Shit, even right now in Austin, what are we seeing right now? We're about to have a winter storm.
Yeah, freeze.
People are going to the store, buying up everything, buying up water, toilet tissue, all types of shit, right?
There's no eggs, there's no canned food, there's no water. You can't find it anywhere.
No, nothing. What are they doing? They're preparing for the winter storm. They're preparing for the tough time.
They're buying blankets. They're preparing for a power outage.
All
they're
that.
Preparing for things that we saw the first winter storm 2 years ago.
So it's just like a winter storm. Mm-hmm. You have to prepare yourself for these times. So when you have to walk up on that stage, when you have to get in front of me and Jose, and you have to tell us, hey, look, I have an idea that I think that you should invest in. Are you going to sit there and quiver and be scared? Or are you going to be like, hey, look, I've done this 1,000,000 times, or I've been through worse. I've put myself through worse. I've trained myself for this. Here we go. Here's what I got. So that's something that I found really interesting in that example, real life example, by the way, that we witnessed of poor preparation and where it gets you, and how if you're not prepared, you can't get through those tough times. But Jose, this is something that I feel like we've noticed on a large scale.
Yes, sir.
We've met a lot of people throughout life. Again, we say this pretty often, but Jose and I have known each other for damn near like 13 years or some shit.
Yeah, some bullshit.
Some shit, So through those times, we have seen a lot of people, and we've heard a lot of people. We've heard a lot of people say a lot of things, because a lot of people like to talk.
Oh, yes.
And something that we have noticed is that most people, which you probably have noticed as well, and you might be a part of that, but we're trying to get you out of that. Most people are all talk. And there's been a lot of instances where we have witnessed this for ourselves, just like the example I just gave you. But Jose, do you want to expound on how people are all talk and how to not be all talk? And I don't think you're all talk. You're a talk and action. So would you like to expound on that?
Yes, and I was trying to find this quote from Central C, but I couldn't find it. Essentially, the quote is basically saying, back in my day, I was getting rich so that my mom wouldn't cry. And nowadays, new generations just die for clout. But that's a way of saying, can you walk the walk, or are you just talking the talk? So it's easy to talk. It's easier now than ever. And it's actually, in a way, desirable to talk, because you draw attention, you draw clout, you get positive feedback, you get followers, you get subscribers, you get attention. And all these things are correlated to money. They're correlated to sales. They're correlated to, and they also are indicative of a degree of worth within the society that we've built to this current point in time and day. So I understand the appeal of talking. And now there's a positive aspect, because there's an analogy that It's actually a picture that Ryan Holiday references, and he has in his bookstore as well. Shout out to Ryan Holiday. Shout out to the Painted Porch.
Shout out Ryan Holiday.
And it's a figure that shows a level of productivity, and it's like all work, no boast, and then it's no work, no boast, and then it's all work and all boast. And so the point is to say that yes, you can work in silence. Yes, you can talk and not work at all. But especially nowadays, the best combination is to be all about the work and then all about displaying the process and the work itself. And a lot of people have a difficult time actually working. They're okay with talking. Talking's cheap. Talking's easy.
It's easy, right? Yeah.
Right. Talking requires no level of sacrifice except for expending the little bit of air that you have in your lungs.
Exactly.
And assuming you can talk, that is. I'm sorry if you can't. If you can't, I get it. I get it.
Right.
There's ways, though. But working is hard. Taking on additional tough tasks is difficult. Going the extra mile is difficult. None of this is easy. And we talked about this in a previous podcast, right? It doesn't get better.
Yeah, it doesn't get...
It gets better.
It gets better, but not easier.
And it's funny that it actually gets harder as you go, but you just get tougher, you just get stronger, you just get better, you get faster, you get smarter. And in the process, as you begin doing these things, if you don't talk about it, it's kind of difficult to realize the progress that you make because you get so caught up in the routine. And it's kind of like when we take progress photos and you're like, nah, I don't see a big difference. And then you look at the photos from a couple weeks back or a month back or a year back and you go, what the?
I didn't even know I had that muscle. It's crazy.
I didn't know I was that fat.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, that's for damn sure. That's for damn sure. Those beers was stacking up.
Oh.
Yeah.
And so I'm not saying anything against talking. I'm actually saying quite the opposite. I want you to talk.
Right.
I want you to talk about I want you to be all talk, but I want you to be all work before you're all talk. And I think that is a great, great, great way to move to the next level.
And you know what's interesting? You have something that I've seen here, and it's actually really, really great. So you said tough times teach us who we are and what we're lacking. This, in my opinion, is one of the best gems that you can get from this podcast, which is why I implore you to put yourself through these tough times. If you see something to where there's an easy route and then there's a hard route, there's something that you can do where you're just staying at work doing the same shit you've always done, or there's an opportunity where you're going to take on more responsibility and challenge yourself, I would say take on that responsibility and challenge yourself. Even if you fuck up somehow in that whole process, you learn what you're not good at. You learn how you need to improve, and you learn what you need to do next. And you also learn, I fucked up, but I'm still okay. Most people think that, okay, if I go out there and I miss this shot in front of all these girls in the stands, that I just, oh my gosh, you see her with it? She's fine as hell. I better make this shot. If I don't make this shot, I'm gonna look like an idiot in front of what's her face. Take the shot, brick the hell out of it. Miss the fuck out of it.
Short.
But you see that and you're devastated in the moment. You see her walk out maybe, or you see her just sitting there. But time keeps ticking. The time goes off the clock. You get another day, hopefully. You get another week. You get another month. You get another rest of your life, hopefully, God willing. So how big was that moment to you? It was probably a lot bigger in your head. We make mounds out of molehills to where, man, if I fuck up on this, my life is over. No, it's not. You just realized what you need to improve on. You realize that you're lacking in this. Okay, so you can either sulk and just stew in it, or you can take that shit as a learning lesson and get better. And I feel like we have done that with everything as of late. Even if it's gone right, we know, okay, this works, but how can we optimize it? And if it's gone wrong, it's like, okay, We didn't do shit right this time. It didn't happen for us. It didn't work out for us. So how can we perfect it? And when you see shit like that, you can't take L's. You can't. And that's why when life gets tough for us, what do? We keep going. We act like shit didn't even fucking happen. Why? Because it didn't. Because it's, again, same shit, different toilet. Same shit, different day. So I would definitely like you to explain a little bit more on that, because you wrote that, and I think, again, Jim.
Let me complement that with a quote from Alex Hormozy.
Shout out Alex Hormozy.
Shout out Alex Hormozy. A reminder for the gladiators in the arena who feel beat up and scared with no hope in sight. Building a business is hard.
Right.
Hard feels shitty. This is what hard feels like. And this is why most people can't do it. But you can. So the reason I really like your take, by the way, I entirely agree with it. But the reason why I wrote this was because in Chris Williamson's interview of Alex Hormozy, when he brought this quote up and then read it to Alex, Alex was explaining that a lot of times we fail to realize that we're in a hard moment when we're in a hard moment. And so tough times teach us who we are and what we're lacking. They give us perspective that we're actually in a tough time, because you don't have this kind of bird's eye view. And next thing you know, you're stress eating, you can't sleep, you're falling into old habits, you're getting kind of aggressive with the people that you love, you're antsy. All these things are just kind of going haywire, but they're going there progressively. So you don't really realize it until something clicks. And you're like, okay, holy shit. I lost my six pack. What the fuck is going on? And you realize, yo, I'm just going through a tough time. It's not the end of the world. And then you can realize, okay, that's why it feels shitty. Okay, perfect. I know where I am. It's supposed to be exactly like this. Now, I know what I need to do. I need to drop all those negative habits, reduce XYZ, and focus on the action, not the outcome. I need to focus and optimize my systems because they're not working right now. I'm avoiding something, right? There's an elephant in the room and it's bigger than fucking Aunt Fanny. And I need to get that shit taken care of right now. I need to make those calls. I need to fire that employee. I need to talk to this individual. I need to get these things moving. I need to call it quits. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe there's big changes that need to be made that I've been resisting out of pride. Maybe it's time for me to delegate a leadership position. Maybe it's time for me to just move on with my life. Maybe it's a new chapter. And so that's the reason why I said what I said. The tough times teach us who we are and what we're lacking, because you have to see it. You have to see that you're in a tough time. You can't just let the tough time take you progressively until next thing you know, you're in an abysmal state. You're addicted to certain substances, whether that be vices, porn, what have you. It could be all kinds of terrible things that you really don't realize you're in that situation until somebody tells you or slaps you around. And yeah, you got to do something about that, man.
You got to do something about it. And just like you said, you have to realize you're in a tough time. And first off, you have to know that these tough times are going to happen, whether you want them to or not. So you don't know when the winter storm's coming. You don't know when it's going to strike, but it's going to. One day or another, it's going to happen. So instead of just sitting there thinking everything is just going peachy, think life is just, just going to be great forever. Sorry to break it to you. It's probably not. Sorry to break it to you. The shit that you thought was going to be easy, probably not. Sorry to break it to you. Business, being your own entrepreneur, businessman, businesswoman, whatever, you thought that shit was going to go pretty fast and you have the perfect product, you have the perfect people around you to help you start your shit, and you thought it was just going to take off better than anybody else's. Probably not going to happen. But I'm not saying give up. However, what I am saying is, when these tough times happen, don't check yourself out of the game. Keep yourself in the game. Keep playing. Feel how it feels to go through this shitty time. Feel how it feels to lose by 30. Take that experience, learn from it, build on it, build yourself, get better, and then go into the game again with that experience, with that tool in your tool belt, and play. And then you and the people around you will see who you truly are. And who you truly are is who you are when things get tough.
Man.
AM Club Podcast, man.
So now.
Mic check.
The AM Club Podcast.